gathering, constantly moving in search of survival. Constantly moving. Until one day, when the idea of growing our food replaced the need for gathering it. And we succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. Yes, we succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. And now, we're beginning to pay the price. DDT. 2,4,5-T. EDB. A new lexicon representing not hope, but threat. For the chemicals and pesticides that once seemed to promise an endless agricultural golden age have instead created a legacy decidedly different in tone. A legacy decidedly different in tone. But the promise was too great to give up. The promise of crops that would ripen, not ruin. The promise of yields that would increase, not decrease. The promise of a golden age of agriculture. The promise was too great to give up. Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. An object lesson in the use of pesticides. Behold the boll weevil, once the scourge of cotton. Barely held in check for years, it and its insect friends kept cotton yields unpredictable at best. And then, shortly after World War II, came DDT, the magic weapon that was to rid cotton of its pests forever. Suddenly, everything changed. Suddenly, we had taken charge of our cotton fields. Suddenly, everything was under control. But just as suddenly, we had unwittingly stepped on a chemical treadmill that was destined to destroy the cotton industry in southern Texas. Behold now the boll worm, once an almost insignificant problem in the cotton fields of Texas. But the DDT that had promised to rid our cotton of its pests forever also rid those fields of the boll worm's natural insect enemies. As a result, the boll worm, unaffected by the compound DDT, flourished. Now these worms, together with the boll weevil, which had become increasingly resistant to our chemicals, were free to dine on the cotton we were trying to protect. So we sprayed them again. And again. And yet again. But nothing helped. In an amazingly short period of time, they had become resistant to our toxins. Acreage planted in cotton had collapsed in less than 5 years. It was time to look elsewhere for an answer. And it wasn't long in coming. A deeper understanding of the life cycle of both the insect and the cotton was the key. Now a whole new approach to pest control was undertaken, an approach called integrated pest management. No longer would we rely only on chemicals. Now we would use a wide range of techniques, new planting schedules, quicker fruiting cotton that could be harvested before the weevils could establish themselves, destruction of the plant residue to deny weevils a winter home, and the limited, judicious use of chemicals. But most of all, it was an approach that recognized the simple fact that our vision of insect-free fields was not only unattainable, but counterproductive. And it worked. Now the region sees higher yields than ever and greater agricultural stability, and all this using 10 times less chemicals. Today, this same awareness, this integrated pest management, is being tried elsewhere on other crops, in other ways. all focused on one basic approach, rethinking how we protect our crops from the pests that prey on them. Thinking in terms of identifying those characteristics in one plant that give it natural resistance to a given insect or disease, and transplanting that gene to another, creating in the laboratory host plant resistance, the ability of the plant itself to resist or destroy the pest or disease. Thinking in terms of using the pest's natural enemies, predators, bacteria, even fungi. All natural agents, part of the ecosystem under ideal conditions. Thinking in terms of using attractants to lure destructive insects to minute quantities of specifically targeted chemicals, dramatically reducing the use of those chemicals in the process. And thinking in terms of the use of finely developed computer models to predict the real probability of a serious infestation, thereby ensuring that when we do use chemicals, it's because we absolutely have to, rather than in blind self-defense. And there are those hard at work trying to find answers in nature to these problems we have created for ourselves. Daring to question the very basis of modern agriculture, the historical notion that simple domination of the land would ultimately serve us best, looking towards cooperation with the land instead. Questioning whether the seeds our ancestors chose to grow so many years ago are still those best suited for our purposes. Searching in long-forgotten seeds for possible answers to the development of an agriculture based on variety, change, and harmony. All these ideas and more form an enlightened response to our potentially disastrous reliance on chemicals and chemicals alone for pest control. Integrated Pest Management, IPM. An approach to pest control that recognizes the incredible complexity of each individual ecosystem and addresses the problem accordingly. But none of these potential solutions can serve us well if we do not have the will to bring them to bear. None of them can serve us well if we do not have the foresight to address the future with the lessons of the past close at hand. For while it is true that we have created incredible abundance, millions still live in desperate hunger in our world. To even begin addressing that pressing reality, we can do no less than sustain this progress, no less than solve these problems. For while the price of abundance may indeed have been high, the price of our failure to persevere in its creation will be immeasurably higher.